Goldwyn decides to cheat in order to get all the money from a 70-year-old wealthy lady by marrying her. However, he underestimated the lady and didn't believe in the harsh lessons she would teach him upon discovering his secret. Goldwyn, a young man with a deep aversion to labor, had always relied on the generosity of his parents to cover his expenses. However, his parents realized that if they didn't push him out of the nest, he would become a permanent fixture. Reluctantly, they urged him to find a job and become self-sufficient. With their gentle prodding, Goldwyn managed to secure a position at a local cafe. Unfortunately, his customer service skills left much to be desired, often bordering on rudeness, and punctuality was not in his vocabulary. Deep within his heart, he nursed a sense of discontent, dismissing his perpetually empty pockets and yearning for expensive possessions. Reluctant to dip into his meager earnings, he continuously sought ways to shift his financial burdens onto others, although his attempts were met with failure. Despite his undeniable charm, few women were willing to indulge his whims. Goldwyn settled into a monotonous routine of going from home to work and back again. However, little did he know that one fateful day, a customer would walk into the cafe and completely disrupt his existence. This customer was unlike anyone he had ever encountered before, presenting a stark departure from his usual clientele. Outside the cafe, a luxurious vehicle came to a smooth halt, its chauffeur gracefully stepping out to open the rear door for her. With an air of elegance, a woman dressed impeccably in white emerged, displaying no concern for her age. Determined and purposeful, she made her way directly into the coffee shop. Spotting her, Goldwyn immediately adjusted his demeanor, forcing a smile to stretch across his face as he greeted her with gracious words. Taking note of her preferences, she simply requested a plain espresso for herself and a tea for her chauffeur. Goldwyn, seamlessly multitasking and personally attending to every detail, performed his duties with unparalleled brilliance, transforming himself into someone unrecognizable. As he handed her the steaming cup of coffee, his gaze lingered in her eyes, longing to capture her attention. Noticing the air of professionalism exuding from her, he couldn't help but be intrigued. "Are there any job openings by any chance?" he asked, his gaze locked with hers. The unexpected inquiry over a simple coffee order caught her off guard, but she sensed his intelligence and saw no harm in giving him a chance. Swiftly, she reached into her purse, retrieved a business card, and handed it to him, before swiftly departing. The card bore her name and business phone number, and as Goldwyn realized he had been given an opportunity, excitement and hope surged within him, marking the first time in years. Finally, the day arrived when Goldwyn mustered the courage to dial the number on the card. A secretary answered, "Miss Pollyanna's office, who am I speaking to?" Goldwyn proceeded to share his story, and the secretary assured him that she was already aware and eagerly anticipating his call. The interview was swiftly arranged by the secretary for the following day, and Goldwyn promptly confirmed his availability. However, displaying his unwavering commitment, Goldwyn arrived at the office even before it opened its doors. When the appointed time for the interview finally arrived, he instantly recognized the woman from the cafe as the company's owner. It was unusual for her to personally conduct interviews, but Goldwyn's persistence had caught her attention, prompting her to make an exception. Interestingly, it wasn't solely Goldwyn's appearance that captivated Pollyanna. It was primarily his exceptional communication skills and unwavering determination to achieve his goals. Moreover, his impeccable attire exuded a timeless elegance suitable for any occasion. Without any hesitation, Carenza made the decision to hire him for a position in the sales department, where he would be responsible for door-to-door sales. It was a prestigious company that distributed its products worldwide. Miss Carenza was not only a remarkable boss, but also managed one of the largest networks for automotive parts distribution in the entire country. When Miss Carenza inherited the business after her husband's passing a decade ago, she had little interest in the mechanical intricacies of the industry, let alone automobiles. However, despite her initial lack of experience and passion for the business world, the company flourished under her leadership, a testament to her remarkable intelligence. Goldwyn, a cunning individual, was not privy to the full details of Miss Carenza's journey, but he deduced certain aspects from an old photograph adorning the wall. The picture depicted a man who seemed to be around the same age as Pollyanna, and it piqued Goldwyn's curiosity. Additionally, he couldn't help but notice the absence of a ring on Miss Carenza's finger, and her well-dressed appearance belied her age of over 70 years. Sensing an opportunity, Goldwyn devised a plan to seduce the wealthy woman, hoping to win her heart and ultimately inherit her vast estate and corporate empire. He calculated that given her wrinkles and advanced age, she likely had limited years ahead of her. With this in mind, Goldwyn saw himself marrying her, patiently waiting for a few years and ultimately reaping a substantial reward. The cunning man's sole focus was on status and wealth, and his plan appeared to be yielding results. Despite lacking any prior work experience, Goldwyn displayed an unprecedented level of dedication. Within a remarkably short span of time, he successfully secured 2 major clients for the company. It was truly astonishing how effortlessly he charmed those around him with his sweet and polite demeanor, effortlessly persuading them to comply with his wishes. The contract he negotiated brought in a substantial profit for Miss Carenza, who, in turn, expressed her gratitude by inviting him to a lavish dinner at one of the city's most prestigious restaurants, encouraging him to continue his exceptional work. During the course of the evening, Goldwyn gave his utmost effort, captivating and enchanting the woman with his charm. It was no surprise that women quickly succumbed to the allure of such a handsome and charismatic young man. The two engaged in lengthy conversations throughout the dinner, with Goldwyn weaving a web of lies about a fictitious career filled with countless challenges, while Miss Carenza shared anecdotes about her own journey of establishing a company alongside her late husband. After a series of casual outings and moments of getting to know each other, Goldwyn felt the time was right to take a significant leap forward in his carefully crafted plan. With perfect timing, he extended an invitation to Carenza, accompanied by a heartfelt request for a relationship. The surprise registered on Miss Carenza's face, her astonishment evident. While their conversations had always been respectful, Goldwyn couldn't help but show glimpses of affection towards her. Initially, she tried to dismiss the idea, deeming it foolish for a boss to pursue a romantic relationship with a subordinate. However, Goldwyn's persuasive nature won her over, and against her initial reservations, she agreed to be with him. The fact that a young man like Goldwyn would choose an older woman like herself left her pleasantly surprised, yet she didn't dwell on it. Instead, she embraced the proposal wholeheartedly, celebrating the night away with Goldwyn. As he observed his plan unfolding seamlessly, Goldwyn knew that the next phase required utmost caution to avoid exposing his true intentions. Goldwyn poured his heart and soul into their relationship, whisking Carenza away to hidden gems and secret corners of the city that even he had never discovered due to financial constraints. His care and devotion were unmatched, and it was only a matter of time before Carenza found herself falling deeply in love with him. Every moment spent by his side brought new experiences, introduced her to incredible individuals, and reignited her passion for life. Unlike her late husband, who had prioritized his career over their marriage, Goldwyn showered her with attention and made her feel truly alive and content. The absence of children in their previous union, a result of her husband's decision to undergo a vasectomy at a young age, had further isolated Carenza, leaving her alone in a world centered around work. Determined to show her gratitude and surprise her beloved partner, she took the leap and purchased tickets to the enchanting city of Rome, Italy. To Goldwyn's astonishment, they embarked on their romantic journey as a deeply enamored couple. Exploring the enchanting corners of the city, they eventually found themselves gliding through the gentle waves of Rome on a boat. It was in this idyllic moment, surrounded by the allure of the city, that Carenza made a bold decision. With her heart brimming with affection, she seized the opportunity to propose to Goldwyn. The unexpectedness of her proposal caught him off guard, but his answer came swiftly, a resounding yes that brought tears of joy to Carenza's eyes. Never, in his wildest dreams, had he imagined that his plan would unfold so perfectly, leading her to take the initiative and ask for his hand. However, amidst the overwhelming happiness, Carenza couldn't help but notice a glimpse of rudeness in Goldwyn's interaction with the boatman, who accidentally splashed water on his clothes. Doubt crept into her mind, wondering if it was just her imagination or if he had truly mistreated the man. This raised a red flag, urging her to be more observant of his future actions. In the blink of an eye, Goldwyn managed to acquire possession of Carenza's credit card. Little did she realize the exorbitant sums he was lavishly splurging on luxurious treasures. Ever since his relationship with Miss Carenza began, he had donned designer attire and adorned himself with extravagant timepieces. It was as if this young man had effortlessly assimilated into the lifestyle of the affluent, exuding the aura of a true millionaire. To an outsider, it would appear that Goldwyn had been born and bred in this world of opulence. Carenza, on the other hand, did not scrutinize her bank account or credit card statements on a daily basis. However, her bank manager detected an unusual transaction and promptly reached out to her to ensure that all was well. Despite her decades of wealth, Carenza had humble beginnings in a small countryside town. She had always been a tenacious fighter, taking on various jobs until her late husband's business skyrocketed. In fact, for years, the company had merely existed on paper, and it was Carenza who had supported her husband and breathed life into his entrepreneurial aspirations. She worked tirelessly, even contributing a portion of her own salary towards the company's growth. After a span of time, the company's fortunes shifted, and Carenza, once a mere janitor, rose to become the majority shareholder. Tragically, her husband's untimely demise thrust her into the role of sole proprietor of the vast empire. Throughout her arduous journey, she remained indifferent to the wealth she had amassed. Her focus remained solely on reinvesting in her business, contenting herself with the bare necessities of life. The opulence of Rome and extravagant spending were luxuries she rarely indulged in. Nevertheless, the union of young Goldwyn and Miss Carenza persevered. They opted for a modest gathering, foregoing any grand festivities and settling for a simple dinner at her humble abode. The following day, the bank manager reached out once more, seeking reassurance that all was well and to verify whether the substantial credit card purchase had indeed been made by her. A seed of doubt sprouted within her as she pondered the ulterior motives of her newly wedded spouse, igniting a storm of suspicion. Goldwyn's unwavering devotion to his phone and his prolonged absences from their abode, stretching into days, fueled her growing apprehension that his affections were solely driven by her wealth. This tumultuous realization left Carenza in a state of distress, plagued by the gnawing fear of betrayal and abandonment. Doubt crept into her mind, haunting her with the question, had she made a colossal error in tying the knot with him? Determined to uncover the truth, Kerensa resolved to enlist the services of a private investigator to unveil Goldwyn's clandestine activities. For weeks on end, the detective shadowed him, capturing a multitude of photographs each passing day. And when the humble lady received the detective's final report, she couldn't believe what she discovered. She found out that Goldwyn had been transferred to another branch of the company a few months ago to oversee other managers and employees, but he never showed up at his office. When he left home every day for work, he met another woman and started attending parties and restaurants almost every week. She cried a lot because she saw that he had deceived her all this time, even using her fortune and the company's corporate credit card to buy extremely expensive gifts for his lover. The tears that fell from the lady's face were nothing compared to her expression of disappointment when she saw all the photos and bank transactions. Her trust was completely shattered. Trying to live again was a disaster, and she felt used and betrayed in a way she had never experienced before in her life. How could he do this to me? He said he loved me, and now he's cheating on me with younger women? In a heartbreaking turn of events, his declaration of love has been shattered as he has betrayed me with the company of younger women. As she pondered her past naivety, she couldn't help but chastise herself for succumbing to the allure of a young man who could very well be her own offspring. Though a wave of melancholy washed over her, she swiftly shifted her focus towards plotting her revenge against the treacherous and deceitful Goldwyn. Her initial tactic involved swiftly freezing all personal credit cards held by the wayward youth and discreetly terminating his employment at the company. It was only a matter of time before Goldwyn's world came crashing down around him, as he embarrassingly attempted to settle the bill for a romantic dinner with his paramour, only to have his card mercilessly declined. Unbelieving of what was happening, he claimed it was an operator error and blamed the restaurant staff. He tried another card, but it also was not accepted for payment, and after 3 attempts, embarrassment and nervousness started to bother Goldwyn. After calling the waiter useless and incompetent, he left and said he would pay the bill at another time. Goldwyn tried to call his wife, Kerensa, but she didn't understand what had happened. But to him, his plan was still working perfectly and going according to plan. Goldwyn was patient and tried to resolve the situation in the best way possible. Upon returning home, he questioned his wife about why she didn't answer his phone call and why his credit card was blocked. She claimed not to know what the issue with the bank was and promised to call the next day to resolve it. Gradually, Kerensa began to see Goldwyn in a different light, as he truly was. She vowed to herself that he would pay for everything he had done to her. The next day, she went to the bank, not to resolve the credit card issue, but to amend what had been written in the marriage and inheritance contract. As she had no children and her family had already passed away, everyone wondered what would become of her money and the fate of all her transactions, now entrusted to her, her lawyers, and her bank manager. Unfortunately, her revenge plans were interrupted by an illness. Few close people knew, but Miss Kerensa had been undergoing treatment for cancer for about 2 years. She knew she didn't have much time left due to the advanced stage of the disease and eventually passed away. However, knowing she was about to say goodbye forever, she left a will letter for her bank manager, with the mission to read the will at her funeral. His wife, whom Goldwyn falsely loved, had passed away, and he started acting like a grieving widower in front of others. Deep down, though, he was happy because his plan had succeeded. He attended the funeral wearing an expensive black suit and dark sunglasses so that no one would notice the absence of tears in his eyes. According to Pollyanna's wishes, the will was read at her funeral. The venue was filled with concerned employees and shareholders about the future of the company. The speech commenced with gratitude towards all in attendance and those who had backed her from the inception of her business journey. Yet, A deep disappointment was expressed towards the individual who exploited and deceived her in her final days. This revelation left Goldwyn visibly embarrassed, prompting all eyes to turn towards him, despite the incomplete knowledge of his actions. Regarding my company, its assets will be evenly distributed among existing shareholders. She praised those who had consistently supported the elderly, asserting that her company had thrived under the adept guidance and decisions of her board. Contrary to common belief, Pollyanna's account held a significantly larger sum than anticipated. Despite perceptions of her innocence and naivety, she had navigated solitude for years, leveraging investments to garner remarkable profits through partnerships and company sales. Decisively, she earmarked these funds to aid homeless children, covering their basic needs until they turn 18, including university education. Goldwyn's face twisted with a mix of fury and resentment as the will unfolded. He burned with rage for being left out of any share of the company or her estate. He had hoped to lay claim to the grand house and flashy cars, only to find out they'd all been liquidated, their proceeds earmarked for charitable donations. Then, unexpectedly, Goldwyn's name was uttered in the will. Miss Carenza, in her final words, acknowledged his significance, recounting the adventures and encounters they shared. She bequeathed him a key, not just any key, but one to a safe in the most prestigious bank in the country. A sardonic grin crept onto Goldwyn's lips. This key promised access to his coveted treasures of jewels and property deeds. The guests, recognizing Miss Carenza's legacy, showered her with applause, acknowledging her remarkable deeds in uplifting the lives of her employees. Days later, the assets of Carenza's estate were sold off. Goldwyn, seizing his opportunity, presented himself to claim his inheritance, greeted warmly by the expectant bank manager. He was ushered to the uppermost secure floor, left to his own devices for the sake of confidentiality. With eager anticipation, Goldwyn swiftly unlocked the sturdy safe, his heart filled with hopes of discovering gleaming diamonds and priceless jewels. Yet his astonishment knew no bounds when he beheld the contents within. Instead of treasures, nestled within the safe, lay a solitary espresso cup. The very same one he had used on the fateful day he first encountered Miss Carenza. Accompanying the cup was a note bearing the cutting words, "I trust you'll relish this portion of your inheritance, fitting for one of your true caliber. Your actions have unveiled your true worth, no more than a disposable cup. Oh, and I took the liberty to brew the coffee especially bitter, just as you like it." In that poignant moment, Goldwyn grasped the full weight of Carenza's revelation. She had unearthed his deceit and was bequeathing him naught. The presence of the disposable cup served as a poignant reminder of his transgressions, a mocking gesture from Carenza exacting payment for his falsehoods. Goldwyn felt like he was living a nightmare. He was now flat broke, out of a job, and right back where he started financially. He was at a loss for what to do next. His deceit had been exposed to everyone. Despite all his efforts, Carenza had decided to reveal photos of Goldwyn's unfaithfulness. His reputation was tarnished citywide, and his dreams of social advancement were shattered. Even his old coffee shop job was off limits now. Miss Carenza passed away knowing she had used her wealth wisely, helping those in need instead of feeding the ambitions of a young opportunist. Goldwyn learned some hard lessons from his time with Miss Carenza, lessons that would stick with him for life. If you enjoyed this tale, drop a like and a comment. I urge you to tune in for the next gripping story. I'll be waiting. Until then, farewell.